You don't need to warn people because I want people to not know that. That's why I do it. It's good.
We can see that, right? It's pretty obvious.
There's a thing that says live on the top left.
And it's
where does it say that? Where does it say that?
Jesus
on the
Christ.
top what? The top what? No, it's Saturday. Normally it's Tom and Gerry, but Tom had a tight schedule today. He wasn't sure if he'd be able to make it, and we invited Snowdub to sit in for him, but he is also going to not be here.
Oh, he just said in chat he is on his way.
He's on his way. That's good.
So he's just on Keith time, but he'll be here.
Outstanding. Well, he had to drop his wife off at the airport. So E. Clay Thomason is here. Tim is here. Let's see. Andy is here.
Slasher
Fred. Well, Slasher Fred loves his horror films, so I kind of expect Slasher Fred to be here.
With that
especially
name,
on movies like this. This is a classic John Carpenter film. And, you know, according to John himself, this is his favorite film he ever made.
Yes.
And now I have to say that Tom is not as big a fan of this, but he knows the film, but he's not as big a fan as like I am. I'm a huge fan of this. I see Penny is here too. So that's good.
Not real Wade.
Oh, Wade, you need to stop flirting with my boyfriend. Stop doing that. He's taken.
This movie is.
She has taken him by the back door.
Would this be considered a cult movie, or where does it fit now?
Well, it wasn't a hit, so therefore, because it is so popular, you can call it a cult classic.
Hey, look in the chat.
Oh, Tom is here. Yeah, Tom, get on in here, man.
Yeah.
Still, come on, man.
It's Tom and Gerry. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Even though I did do the new thumbnail. I don't know if Tom saw the new thumbnail. Let me see if I can pull that up for him. Except that was funny. And it wasn't my idea.
Are the Norwegians coming in after the
Sweden?
Hey, Sweden. Norwegians, man.
And he gives 0 fucks.
There we go. There it is. I did that one just for Snowdub. I thought Tom would be amused by this too. Martin came up with the idea. So if you want to blame anybody, blame Martin. Snow and Gerry.
No blame needed. I think it's great.
So also just want to show you guys, I got this in the mail. This is the
Quickly. Nice.
Quickly. It's not the Blu-ray, but you know what? I don't care. My player upgrades the quality of the video, so I'm not too worried about it. But the thing is, like, one of my favorite films, and it was part of the 1982 slot of films, and I was 18, and Blade Runner was the first R-rated. I watched Eddie Murphy, Delirious and Raw instead of The Thing. I've only seen it 2 or 3 times my entire life. Don't worry about it, man.
That's not an excuse, Tom.
I'd still like to have you come hang out with us.
Yeah.
Come on.
I've only seen it twice.
It's just one of those films that
Oh, look at
right
that.
at that special time as the 4K got announced. LOL Quigley. Oh, that's
Mhm.
cool. So don't blame Anima. She was just following orders.
Oh, if you should know me by now, Tim. I don't follow
That's a
anyone's orders.
World War II. That's a World War II joke.
Yeah, I'm just.
Oh,
Germans following orders.
I did
Oh,
not see
fuck you!
that
I'm not
coming.
German.
I think I said to her that one day.
but
I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. What language do you speak?" She said, "Fuck you."
I
It's
wish
not
people would
Austrian.
just
It's
stop
German.
that.
It's a tease, baby.
I was
Don't
so
take it
happy when Cameron immediately caught my accent being Austrian. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's
Hey.
Austrian or German. He did put
Yeah,
German
but he
in there.
put the
'cause
Austrian first because
Yes,
he
he did.
suspected it. And I like that because I am not German. And the German that I'm speaking is very far away from anything spoken in Germany. It's much nicer.
So you're saying a German wouldn't be able to understand you?
Oh, they would. They would.
I know they would. Lady V is here too. And oh, Bud Badenzer is here. Is it Badenzer or Badenzer?
Hi, Lady V.
I don't know how to say that one.
I would read it as German, Badenzer, but I don't know.
oh, German? Did you say?
I like
It's
what
German.
Wade said here.
As Steve Martin would say, it's German, Gemerman. It's Ethel Merman.
Yeah, I'm not.
Now-
I'm ignoring Tim now. I like what Wade said.
Hey, Tig. How are you?
Hey, Teague, what's
Wade
up, buddy?
said that you are in love with an Austrian thing. I like that.
Now, there was the original black and white. It's stealth directed by Howard Hawks, right? Those.
He ghost directed it, yeah.
Yeah.
Christian Nyby was listed as the director because he directed some of the film, but Hawks fired him. Also, Hawks walked in and took the script and tore it in half. And he says, "This is the part we're making." That's what they did. And he was the one who came up with the idea of the whole vegetable thing, turn it into a vegetable and we'll boil it or broil it or whatever the suggestion was within the movie. But it's true, Slasher. The film is called The Thing from Another World, but it's also commonly just referred to as The Thing because that is the main title of the film. The subtitle is From Another World. And that was because people didn't know if it would go over well just calling it The Thing. But what I love is that Carpenter, with this film, had his effects guy recreate the logo entry from the original film with where it looks like something's melting and you see the thing with light coming behind it and smoke. And they recreated it. It's perfect. It has a couple of mistakes in it where you can actually see the dripping plastic that they used. They used a garbage liner bag and laid it over it and then took a heater, not an air dryer, but a hot blower and melted. And you can see flame every once in a while.
Yep. And then was at the studio, if I remember right, asked, "Hey, you want to direct a remake?" And was like, I love that film. Why would I? Then he read the original story and realized that was never actually adapted. Like they went in a completely different direction. So he took the short story called "Who Goes There," or as it's
not a short
called,
story. It's a novella.
Yeah.
It's longer than a short story and shorter than a novel.
Yeah, the novella version was it Frozen Hell? They found like an extended version of it and released it a couple decades later.
Yeah, it was released back in the 2000s. The Alien, hold on, I want to read that. The Alien original movie looks like a version of well, the problem was Howard Hawks couldn't see how a little tentacled monster was going to be scary. This is the first alien invasion film, The Thing. Not only that, it's the first film that talked about UFOs. And it's the film that coined the phrase, "Watch the skies." So I thought that was really interesting. The film came out just around the same time as the incident in Washington, D.C. And so it was perfect timing. People were paranoid about aliens, man. Hey, Red Shirt's here. What's up, buddy?
I mean, they do make him look really strange. It's so tall and green, and the head is shaped in a weird way, but I wouldn't compare it to Frankenstein monster.
No, and in fact, if you look at him, when you look at his fists in the photos, I'll pull one up here shortly, you can see what looks like claws, but they're not claws, they're thorns, because he's a plant-based creature. Let me look it up. James R. Ness, The Thing.
Hi, Richard.
This movie also, I think, does what Prometheus tried to do a lot better, in that aliens did come down to visit us. Just, it didn't go very well. They crashed.
Here we go. Found a good picture of it. Oh, they got a colorized version. Let's open that one up. Open image.
It is vegetable based. So yeah, you could call it monster cucumber.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they refer to him as a carrot in the movie.
yeah.
But here we go. Let me show the picture. There's James Arness as The Thing. And those aren't claws. Those are thorns growing out of his fists, his fingers. It was really nifty what they did.
How tall was that guy?
He's 6'7", I think.
Wow, he
Well-
must have had problems.
It
That
looks
can't be
like
healthy.
kind of Frankensteinish.
In that photo, yes, but in the movie, it's much darker.
Yeah, I'm going to look at see how tall he was. James Arness height.
But man, that guy is freaking huge.
6'7". I was right. Yeah, there's some great actors in that original film. He had Kenneth Tobey in it. Robert Cornthwaite, who is the scientist that was losing sleep and thought he could befriend the alien. One of my favorite, Dewey Martin plays Mac in the movie. But there was this other guy in there that I always forget the name of, Paul Frees, who is better known later as a voice actor. He'd appear in cartoons and a lot of stuff. He's also the actor that was pulled in to do the voice of Toshiro Mifune in the Midway movie. And that was really weird, hearing Paul Frees's voice for Toshiro Mifune. John Drake, Dirkus is a gigantic actor. He's just like James Arness, like 6'7", and he's in it. He plays one of the scientists. But the other thing that was really big about that original film was that he had already kind of established this layered dialogue, Howard Hawks did, with the way he did His Girl Friday, which was the first film he did it in, which is having people talking over people. Somebody will deliver their dialogue, and before they're finished, the other person will start talking. And it is
So basically YouTube chats, right?
Yeah, just like that. And it really, it created not only a realistic way of doing dialogue, but it allowed you to go back and watch a film more than one time and catch stuff you missed the first time. Because just recently I was watching something and I'm like, oh my God, I just caught something I've never caught before. What was that from, Anima, when I caught that?
Boy,
There's
you watched a
something
lot
we're
of
watching.
movies in this past week. Wasn't it last weekend?
It was something. Hey, Snowdub is here. What's up, buddy?
Hi.
Hey kids, how's it going?
Yeah. Did you see the thumbnail I created?
I
Just for
did.
you?
Yeah, thank you.
Look at that.
I feel special.
Tom felt uncomfortable because he hasn't watched the movie as much and is not as big a fan of it as I am. And this is my number 2 favorite film of all time.
Yeah, it's my number one.
Not genre specific. It is my number 2 favorite movie of all time. Number 1, Blade Runner. Number 2, both of them released back to back, fighting against the box office of Spielberg's E.T.,
Right.
which
Yeah.
completely wrecked them. It destroyed them in the theater.
Just let it go, man.
Everybody
I'm not
wanted.
gonna let it go. No,
well,
never let it go. Shut up.
At that
Shut
time
up.
period, it was Steven Spielberg was on a roll, with Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that stuff. So he already had the audience captivated just from the trailers and a feel good alien movie, and it was a family film. So you had families coming in to watch that when The Thing being quote unquote grotesque horror, it was a more niche audience that would even want to go see that. So he was already at a disadvantage right off the bat. John Carpenter was.
He got slaughtered by the critics at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, the critics came after him pretty hard too, and he's been quoted as saying that he's wanted to send them a strongly worded letter, because obviously 40-something years later now, time has proved the better movie. Yep.
And it's his favorite film he ever made, and it's absolutely my favorite John Carpenter film of all time.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of Carpenter, but I stopped enjoying his films after Memoirs of an Invisible Man. I couldn't stand Ghosts of Mars, and I really didn't like vampires. Don hates hearing me say that, Don Ecker, because he loves that movie. And I said, look, it had some fun moments in it, but I really didn't like the story. I felt it was weak. For me, it's got to be a strong story. By the way, I want to read this. Pete Dencut says, hey, Gerry, panel mods, chat friends. Next time you watch the Thing, watch it from the perspective that McCready is a thing, and he was infected by the whiskey bottle that he gave to Bennings. Well, Bennings wasn't infected at that point.
Nope.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I explained who gets infected first, and you'll see the image when we're going through the slideshow.
I hope
that there's a shadow. When the dog turns the corner into the room, you see a clear shot of the wall, the bed, the closet, and then you see the shadow. And the shadow is obviously a white dude. Clearly a white dude. So already we're knocking a couple of people off the list there. But then the shadow is wearing a sweater with a shirt popping out of the collar. And there's only one character that wore a sweater with a shirt popping out of the collar. Only one.
Norris.
Right.
Yep.
And watch how he reacts to the
but that's a standard that John Carpenter selected not to look like the actor. Doesn't matter. Because you're still given evidence in that shot. And it's not Childs and Palmer's room.
No.
Childs and Palmer's room had shit on the wall.
And they're sharing
a big bulletin board with stuff all over it, not on the wall in that scene. Clearly not in their room.
Well, Childs and Palmer were sharing a joint as well. So if one of them was
that was a joint room too. But one of the cot was moved so the door could open further.
No, I mean a marijuana joint.
Oh,
that's what they were sharing.
They were smoking some cannabis. Yeah.
And if cells can go over, that would mean, if Palmer was infected, that means Childs would have been infected, which means the blood test would have came up positive for Childs. So that eliminates that whole scenario of Palmer being infected first.
Right. By the way, I love Admiral Teague's statement here. Geez, imagine stumbling out of the Thing and walking into Blade Runner to try to get your head back together.
It's crazy. Both of those movies came out at the same time.
Well, my reaction to Blade Runner was so negative the first time I saw it, because I went there with my friends expecting to see Indiana Jones or Han Solo, and instead I've got a cop who can't seem to kill the male replicants. He can only murder the women. It was so bizarre. It's like, oh my God. It's so violent and dark. So we went and we took a weekend, and I went and got a copy, and apparently so did my buddies, got a copy of Dwayne Wright's Dream of Electric Sheep. In fact, I bought the movie tie-in copy of the book that had Drew Struzan's artwork on the cover, which it wasn't supposed to. That they didn't pay for that. Warner Publishing didn't pay for that. So they had to immediately recall and redistribute the books with the proper artwork on it. So you got two legal versions. One had a photo of the police station, from the movie, and another one had the artwork by I just forgot his name. That did the movie. No, the other artist. Al. Oh man, I can't think of his name. Anyway, so I read the book. My buddies apparently read the book, and then the next weekend we said, "Let's go see it at a matinee." So we went Saturday to see it again, and all of a sudden we walked, because when we left it the first time, we couldn't even talk. We were so stunned by what we had seen, like, you know, just freaked out by it. And then the next weekend we go see it, we couldn't shut up. We were like 16-year-old girls on prom night, just blah, 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 about Blade Runner. And it became my favorite film. But distrust it as a great game, solo or two-player co-op. Everything generated. Each run is different. What are we talking about?
Board game. No, or a video game.
Oh, The Thing.
Yeah.
I've wanted to create a game just simply called Who Goes There, which is the original novella. And it's sort of like that secret Himmler. I'll say the word Himmler instead of the actual word. Or Blood on the Clock Tower board game, where you have to figure out who the bad guy is, and before you get infected. I have that game too. I have that one too. I have it for Xbox and I have it for my PC. In fact, it's loaded on my PC.
I didn't entirely like that game because it felt like they were just trying to make a Half-Life ripoff, but give it a spin.
They did something that had never been done before, which is dealing with the mental state of your character, that you have to do things to calm them down.
Yeah.
You remember that shit?
Yeah, I do. The only problem.
No, I'm talking Snowed Up.
Oh, it was like the newest version of AI that they had put into a game. Like you had.
It's so funny. Blade Runner in 1997 put out their game, and it was the first of its kind. It won an Academy Award for gaming for what they did within the game. And then The Thing does the same thing. They do something nobody had ever done before in a video game by putting your emotional and psychological well-being as part of staying alive in the game. You had to find ways to calm your character down.
Yep.
I liked it. And I like being able to run around and kill those little critters.
And it was approved by John Carpenter. Now, the game mechanics were a little rough. From what I recall,
they were.
The controls weren't the best, but all in all, it was a solid game. I enjoyed it. Hard as hell, man. It was tough to beat. I remember.
Like when you would get the boss, every time you hit a boss level, like you had to go up against one of the big ones, I would die 4 or 5 times before I'd finally kill him.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yep. And then I got stuck in a position. I remember I started a new level with really low life, and I didn't have any health packs, and I could not get past that point, and I had to start over because I couldn't find a health pack before I'd end up getting killed. It was a bad spot. You have to really watch your health packs on this one, but it's still fun.
I'd love to see them redo that game today.
Yes, I'd love to see.
I'd really like to see it with some modern graphics and modern action,
like they did with Resident Evil 4. They actually added stuff to the Resident Evil 4 game when they redid it, and I think Dead Space as well. Both got readaptions, but yeah, this one for sure. I would love. But in
the end, you find out McCready did survive. He had been rescued.
Yep.
Childs didn't make it.
Nope.
And McCready is in the helicopter, and at the end of the game, you have to use a minigun on the side of the helicopter to destroy the final thing.
Yeah.
I think it was at the saucer crash site, right?
They made a government facility. That was where I was going. Like, this is too like Resident Evil 2 thing. It's like, we're going to use the thing as a weapon. It's like, how are you going to weaponize this thing?
Right. Yeah, the story wasn't perfect. That's for sure. But it made up for it when you saw McCready's hat, pop up in that helicopter at the end. It was like, all right, that's a good ending. That's kind of what we were fighting for through the whole game, was to see what happened to him.
So that's like one of like 3 different continuations, I think, because they've done like 2 comic book versions as sequels. And then there was the Frank Darabont one that never happened.
Well, Ronald D. Moore was also involved, and that's how he got his weird show on Sci-Fi Channel that looked a lot like The Thing when it started.
Helix. Yeah.
Helix. because that was what came from his version of the thing that he was going to do for the Sci-Fi Channel. By the way, we have 2 videos I got to play real quick here.
Yes.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
I don't know why that always tickles me.
Hey, fuck you, Carl.
Oh, hi, Sax.
And then for everybody else,
Yeah, but one of the things I really love about the whole movie, and it's kind of an important thing, is that there's a shit ton of ambiguity about, you know, what it is, what it works. If the people that are even transformed, that
I read those.
know their things.
Dark Horse.
Are they just going off on their own? Like their brain's still working, but the rest of them's like this organism.
I love those.
And it
comments.
never answers that.
Yeah, I'm just giving the audience stuff to look at here. But yeah, this was the 4 of 4. It was a mini series, and you're right. Earlier, I can't remember who mentioned it. Maybe it was deleted scenes, but they did do kind of their own ending in this comic book where Childs is the thing, and he ends up having to kill him later on. But yeah.
It was the same time that Billy Mumy did his Lost in Space comic. Because I remember buying both the same day.
Yeah, I had to find those. I had to go hunting for them.
Yeah, when I found them, they were in a little comic shop on the other Benicia, right across the bridge from Vallejo. There was a little comic shop up on the hill. I love that place, man. I go there. I drive through every day, and if I was going through that side of the bridge rather than going south towards Tracy and Pittsburgh and going towards the bay, I would always stop at that comic shop and see what they had. But,
now the 2011 thing was the director has come out now and said that he made a mistake and he should have kept the practical effects in it like they promised originally before they even.
That's sort of like a no shit Sherlock.
Right. And for some reason, the producers got a hold of the film and said, nah, we need to put CGI in it, whatever. Ruined the film. But I will say the last, 5-10 minutes of the film is actually pretty good, as showing the sequential events that lead up to the next movie. I enjoy it for that. But the rest of the movie was just horseshit. Unfortunately,
it's not a story that really needed to be told because we already know what happened because that's the lead up in the actual this movie is that what the hell happened, and then you basically the same thing happens to them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for us diehards, we wanted to know why there was an axe in the door or why the guy.
Yeah, because there was footage shot. Yeah. They had a greenhouse scene because there is a greenhouse attached to the camp. You see it when far away. That's that weird tube-looking thing going off to the side. That's the greenhouse, and I was always disappointed that we never got to see the recreation of the greenhouse scene. For the Swedes.
The axe in the door scene was actually originally supposed to be Fuchs' death. I think they even shot it where Fuchs gets nailed to the door with an axe. And dies that way instead of being burned. But Carpenter realized that that's not how the thing is. He's not a killer. He's a survivalist. He's trying to just survive.
Yeah, he would just if he was going to kill somebody, he'd take him over.
Right. So it didn't work for the movie, but it's interesting because there's images out there you can find of Fuchs.
It would be a flaw in the story logic. Yeah.
Yep.
That bothered me about the 2011 version. Was the fact that the thing is not stealthy at all. I mean, it's pretty much out in the open most of the time. It just rang false to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're playing devil's advocate, they make the argument that it just woke up. It doesn't know anything, so it's more animalistic. But no, it's just it should know plenty just from all the aliens it took over.
Maybe it just doesn't care.
Well, the main problem was you had a genius by the name of Rob Bottin who literally had to go to the hospital because he worked so hard on his animatronics.
Yeah, he got sick.
Yeah. I mean, he worked so hard. He literally had, what was it, like a nervous breakdown or something like that? His blood pressure.
Well, there's a mixture of that and also the exposure to chemicals. I love this whole beginning with the ship. I always love the animation they did here.
Yeah.
And that was part of reshoots, right?
That was what?
There were reshoots for this movie, or there was a point where they shut down production for a bit. I'm trying to remember the exact thing word, but
I don't remember that.
No, you may be thinking of the fact that they shot half the movie in Canada, and then the other half was on the sound stage in Los Angeles. So
yeah, because they went up there and built it during the thaw while it was warm. They built the base, and they had to let it get snow covered.
Yep,
and
they shot all the
they
scenes.
Ended up shooting. They did end up shooting some scenes on location that were supposed to be shot in a studio, which is why, like the scene where where Bennings gets taken over.
Yeah,
that was actually shot on location in the warehouse inside the set.
Yeah, I talked to Bennings actually. I'll try to dig up the picture, but I got to meet most of the cast, a good chunk of them, and John Carpenter. And I got to ask each one of the actors a question, as I was having them sign my poster. And I would try to think of a cool question for each actor for, one of the great scenes. And Bennings, when I met him, and he's probably the next one that's going to die. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He's definitely old. But I got to meet Bennings, and his scene where he's outside, he said he was literally in the cold, in the elements. You're right, Gary. And he said that the thing prosthetics were just 2 gloves covered with basically a bunch of KY jelly.
Yeah, he was top wise. He was naked in that cold weather.
Yeah, he said he froze his butt off out there. Yeah.
And this here is a great bookend for the beginning and end of the movie.
Also, that is the voice of John Carpenter's wife as the computer.
Yes. What's her name from
Escape from New York?
Yeah.
Fog.
Big boobies. Can't think of her name right now.
I told Anima about that. Adrienne Barbeau.
There we go.
I'm like,
yep.
She knew they were big, and she would put them out there.
Oh yeah, she would.
and the other thing I love about the introduction with McCready is that it's basically a summary of the entire fucking movie right there.
Right. Yeah, because he's once he realizes he's losing the chess match, he just throws his drink in it and blows it all up, which is an analogy for the whole film. It's a chess match between him and the thing, and once he realizes he's lost, he just blows the whole thing up.
It does. Whiskey in the machine.
And that was supposed to be like one of the additional scenes.
It did cheat. If you go back and read some chess masters, they said the game cheated. And so he caught it cheating.
Yeah, I have to believe you for that because I'm too stupid to understand chess. I tried.
I will point out here that this is interesting. These are not Norwegian actors, but they found somebody that was working on the film that spoke a little bit of Norwegian. And so he is the one speaking in this scene, yelling in.
They speak broken Norwegian, but it's enough so you can understand when you know Norwegian.
Well, it's because it's not his first language. It's not his first language. He's American. Now, I want to point out, too, the guy playing Gerry here is a great actor, is actually Welsh. And several times in the film, you can hear his Welsh accent come through. But he made a career out of playing Americans. I think this is weird. Those are technically smoke and tear gas grenades. Those aren't like, I've never seen explosive grenades in the canister. They're always in a ball.
Yeah.
Grenade. What is it called?
Well, they had a bunch of barrels of kerosene on the chopper. So I think what they were trying to do is inoculate the dog and then probably land and burn it is what they were probably thinking.
Their goal. But I forgive him. And of course, Gerry shoots. And by the way, this is the only John Carpenter film where he uses realistic gunfire sounds. Because he has some of the worst sound effects for guns in his movies. Escape from New York, all of them. But this one was correct. And I guess because it was a studio film. Also, the death of the Norwegian is really one of the most gruesome, even though it's not gross, showing his body arching up and then collapsing as he's laying there. was really realistic.
And he gives a little twitch right at the end too.
Yeah, and I was just like, "Oh my god, it's
A little
so
That
leg
looks
interesting."
so
twitch.
real, yeah.
Now, this is one that always concerned me because he has physical contact here. Richard Masur played the part of the
Clark?
dog handler, Clark,
Yeah,
as
he's
Don't
tough.
say
Wilford Brimley would say. But he has physical contact with
Yeah.
this dog. But then I'm like, I guess it needs to be
In the
wet.
bloodstream somehow.
It needs to be wet for it to spread. And
Well,
so,
but they're out in the snow, and then he takes the
because
thing
as you know
inside, so-
later on, it's discovered he's not infected. So I'm like, oh, but
Gary, the dog's fur is going to be damp from the snow, and
Yep.
then they go inside.
now there are several shots of this dog. This dog had problems on this shoot. And when the helicopter flew over, the first time you see it fly over the dog like freaks. You can see it like stop and like turn and not sure what to do because the helicopter is freaking it out. Everything freaked this dog out.
I think the dog's name
And-
was Jeb, if I remember right.
It was Jeb. It is Jeb.
Half
Yep.
wolf. Yeah.
It's half wolf, half Malamute.
Right.
It's
And
gorgeous.
it had all kinds of issues. It was very skittish. And they couldn't get it to stand still, which is why in two scenes, you actually have the Rob Bottin dog, and it looks so real. You swear to God, watching it, it's moving because your eye tricks you. But I swear to God, it really looks like it's moving. Not here. This is a scene where he's interacting. So I do like this scene a lot because the dog's like, "Hey, man, wonder what's going on. I wonder why those guys are freaked out."
When I talked to the actor,
First week of winter, by the way. Best line.
when I talked to the actor who played Clark, and he was there, and he signed my poster. I got to ask him about his death scene, and the funny part about that was he was sitting down because he was signing my poster, and he was talking about the squib that they put in his forehead for the gunshot wound that he takes, and he goes, "Here, I'll show you how it felt." And he's like, "Kneel down here," right? And so I kneel down next to him, and he literally slapped me in the forehead. And he's like, "It was about that hard," you know. And he says,
Damn.
"So if you watch the scene, you actually see his eyes blink because he wasn't, you know, his eyes kind of flutter a little bit because of the amount of pressure of
shock.
the pop." Yeah,
Normally for headshots, they do what's called the fish string pull. So you don't put a squib on the head.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out here that Doc Copper has a nose ring.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't notice that. He's got a
You
nose
don't
ring.
see it in later shots anymore, though.
It's only because of the distance. It is in his nose. And that is one way to tell if he's infected or not, because you learn from the prequel that things like that get left out, that
Right.
the thing can't replicate physical stuff.
yeah, metals and stuff, right?
And of course, he's teasing Bennings for acting like it was worse than it was. It's just a scratch. I love this scene with Wilford Brimley and Windows. It's gotta be somebody. The way he talks, I just love the way he talks. He's a cowboy. A lot of people don't know this, that Wilford Brimley was an old cowboy, and so he relished the scenes where he got to handle the guts and everything in this. And if you listen to the commentary by John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, they'll start chuckling, talking about how much fun he had handling all the guts.
Yeah, it's great commentary with those two.
It's one of the best commentaries on a film.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the line where they said, well, "Wilford, what are you thinking about when you're doing that scene?" Is doing my laundry.
Well, it's
We,
like
we have this question here from Sax.
In the movie Blade Runner in particular, is the first one that pops into my mind, is when Leon gets shot in the head by Rachel.
Mm.
They have a fish line tied to a plug on its forehead, and they yank it out really quickly, and suddenly the bullet hole appears, and it's you can't really see the fish string. The film doesn't pick it up.
A really impressive thing with this movie is there's no big exposition for any of the characters.
No, you find out who they are by what they do.
Yep.
And I kind of like that. And yeah, look, I got to tell you, the prequel follows the rules, but they had problems with the film. I believe that if they were to fix that film, I would watch it again. But they got to fix some stupid stuff in it that the studio put in and did. The CG's got to go.
Yeah,
or
they
be made more minimal.
if they go back and pull out the original, prints or whatever they call it, without the CGI on it, and remake that and fix it up and clean it up, I would enjoy the movie a lot more probably if they did that.
Okay, that's the fake dog that Botin built. That shot. And when it's standing at the window watching them,
Right.
as the fake dog. I love how Knowles doesn't touch the
Really?
volume, he just pretends to touch the volume. You need to turn that down. I got shot today.
Well, you could tell Bennings is
We
kind of
wanna-
he's a whiner of the group. He's constantly complaining. That's Noel's reaction.
This is one of the moments where it pulls you out of the film for just a moment, because right as you're going through this doorway, a shadow and reflection is picked up at the camera crew. And it's really obvious. It's not like something not noticeable. But I love this scene because it creates tension, all this empty space.
Yet it still feels
And
claustrophobic.
there it is. And there it is. It's like
Calm
walking
before the
around.
storm.
It's so creepy. They get a great performance from this dog. And then it
They
goes
had-
into, you got this shot where you can't see the whole shadow.
They had to pull everybody pretty much off the set except for John
Jeez.
Carpenter, the
You show the whole
handler,
shadow.
and the dog
Damn
to
it.
shoot that scene because he was so skittish.
Yep.
I get why they
I
chose
apologize
this
for that
dog,
buzzer,
though.
guys.
This dog is so beautiful. I'm sorry.
The
I love
thing
animals.
shadow. I was hoping that we would see it in the movie, and it's just not there. So I'm going to pull up a large copy of it to share. So there we go. That's the one. Save image as. And now I will pull it up. Oh, and while we're here,
Hey, Sweden! Not Swedish, Mac, the Norwegian.
there we go. I love that clip.
They're not Swedish, Mac.
It's you get it twice. I love comedy in threes, but you get the Swede thing twice in the movie, and I do like that.
The clip I got on my channel is when Palmer turns around and sees Norris's head. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Kidding me?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's another good one.
We have it
That's
too.
funny here.
It's here.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh wow! Did it save it as a web image?
I hate that.
Fuck.
Google.
Google, we hate you.
That's why I love screenshots.
Yep.
Oh, you don't want to give it to me? I'll screenshot it.
Yeah, I have to look up how to do a screenshot every time I need to use it, which is like twice a year. I just keep forgetting it.
Every time I
here
get
we
a new phone, I got to do that. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to pull the shadow up so you can see.
There we go.
Clearly, this is the sweater. By the way, it cuts into the collar. Then there's the shirt collar popping up, and it's got a bit of poofy, not quite a pompadour, but kind of a pompadourish head. Clearly, that face doesn't match any actor in the movie because it's a stand-in. But the outfit tells you who it is. Also, you know this isn't Child's and Palmer's room because there'd be a big cork board up here on the wall with a bunch of shit on it. So it's not their room. Anyway.
Now, if I remember right,
cool.
Gary, I think it was a stuntman. The guy who played Michael Myers in the first movie is who he used for that.
That's exactly who it was.
Okay, yeah, I thought that's what it was.
So, all right. Now, this is an interesting bit of trivia too. The Norwegian base is actually their base after they burned it at the end of the movie. That's all they
Right.
did. That way they saved money. So this scene at the Norwegian base actually was shot after the entirety of everything else they'd shot at their base.
And in my opinion, this is the way to do stuff like that. Be resourceful.
Save money.
Just because you can spend all that money and build a second camp doesn't mean you should.
Yes, it's in Child's Play. That's right. That's right. Tom and I talked about that before when we did the. We talked about Child's Play. Classic stuff, man. So, and just for you, Snow, I'll play that video real quick.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
That look on Mac's face, I love it. This is another great moment, by the way. Another favorite.
Do you believe any of this voodoo bullshit, Blair?
Charles, chariots of the gods, man. They practically own South America. I mean, they taught the Incas everything they know.
Yep.
I knew we had that one.
Now, Palmer,
And
you
that-
see a distinct change in Palmer as a character. Well, I
Yes.
don't want to go with Windows. I don't trust him. You know, he's like doing that shit that is not typical Palmer, and that's because he's already the thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love this scene. And by the way, I love the recreation of this room in the video games, too.
And there's also a scene with Palmer when Keith David Childs is axing down the door to get to McCready when he breaks into the storage room, and Palmer's egging him on to kill him. You know, like trying to hype him up because that'll
man.
take him out. Yeah.
He was clearly infected by that point. This
Yep.
is some of Rob Bottin's best work right here.
It's creepy as
I
all
remember
fuck.
I was so shocked by that scene.
Now is he still MIA? There's been like people have been looking for him for like the past 10 years. He did some work on.
Oh, Rob Bottin, yeah, he's still missing.
Okay,
I mean, they know where he's at. He's just not.
he's just
he
not
just
doing
doesn't
anything
leave his
anymore.
house. He just
Yeah.
doesn't do anything. He's just retired, sick of it. I
He
don't
was
know.
on. He did a little bit for Game of Thrones. I know that much.
He did
but that
one
was-
thing. He did one thing, and he's uncredited for it. But he did that one thing, and that's it. He stopped.
That was like the last thing he did, if I remember right. Yeah.
I agree with you. Keith David is the shit.
Yep.
I mean, you're just not going to get any better than Keith David and Rowdy Roddy Piper. They Live. I mean, come on.
Another classic. Yeah.
Yep. In fact, almost every John Carpenter film is in my top 10 list.
Now I got to give credit to the, I guess, prequel, 2011, but they did make sure to look at all those scenes that you're showing right
And
now.
recreate everything correctly, exactly the way they were in this movie.
Exactly.
This is, of course, also a nod to the 1951 film.
Yep.
But I love this, the POV coming in and over the rail. I mean, God, this is so well shot.
Yeah, great lighting. Excellent lighting.
Hey, Six. Well, somewhere is morning.
Hi, Six.
Yep.
This movie feels cold, you know. Hi, Six.
Well, they lowered the temperature on all the sets, right, so they'd have the breath.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They also used cigarettes for that.
Plus, when they shot in L.A., they had a heat wave while they were shooting. So every time they went outside, they were all in leather, you know, all
Roasting in those clothes.
just dying. Yeah, every time they went out for a break. A lot of them got sick actually from the hot to cold, back and forth.
Yeah, that's not healthy.
Yep. Your body doesn't acclimate right if it's constantly being shifted.
Nope.
And by the way, I want to point out that the script was written by Bill Lancaster, who is the son of Burt Lancaster.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, wrote the Bad News Bears as well, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he did. Now, I'm going to tell you also that Ennio Morricone is credited with writing the music to this, but in fact, he only wrote the main theme that was used in the film. The rest was John Carpenter.
Yep. And
And
then
Ennio
Hateful Eight.
Morricone also claimed he would never work with him again.
Ah,
Oh, thank you, Six. She's
We
giving
have a
us
super
rose.
sticker.
Well, thank you, Six. Those are kind of you.
And here's your super
We-
sticker, Gary.
Is it? It's either poop
Of
or
course,
rose.
it's poop. It's poop. The first one is mine. It's a rose. Second one is yours. You can have the poop.
I get the poop. Dean Cundey, of course, is one of my favorite DPs, and he worked with Carpenter on several films. And I don't know what it is, man. He has this way with his lenses of catching those lens flares just right. It's not overdone, and it's in and out, but it just looks so gorgeous, and his depth of field is always beautiful.
Now, question: do you think he starts to get infected after he does the autopsy? Because it's not.
No, this is. You can actually see how he got infected because he touches his lip with the damn pencil.
Yes.
Yeah, right after he's poking at it.
It's a huge no-no. But
And
yes,
he's
he's
only
wearing short gloves. He's
He
wearing
has
short
no other
gloves instead of
protection.
long gloves. So he's not protecting his wrists. Clearly, he was infected slowly from this. And that's what you have to wonder. What's happening with him when he's looking at the animation? Because I suspect he's still human when he sees the animation.
Yeah, I
human,
think he's.
absolutely shit.
And I think he's still kind of there when he's doing the pistol scene. But you do have to ask, is he trying to freeze again? You know, is he trying to stop everything from happening so they can freeze? Because he knows that this is a no-win scenario for him. Or suspects it's a no-win scenario for him.
Or is he doing
them.
it because he's already taken over and he's just trying to sabotage so they can't warn anyone?
Well, that and he also wants parts because you find out later he's building his own spaceship underground to try and escape.
Now, I'm going to tell you some of the other films outside of John Carpenter films Dean Cundey worked on. Jurassic Park, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Apollo 13, 3 of the Back to the Future films. He worked on The Mandalorian. And I complimented the photography on that. I really thought it was well done. Let's see. One of my other favorites. Let's get back to the 90s. Back in the 90s, he did something. What Women Want, he did in 2000. I like that movie with Mel Gibson. He was the DP on Battlestar Galactica: The Second Coming. Let's see. Flubber. Let's see. The not so great Casper. The somewhat fun Flintstones movie. Death Becomes Her. I enjoy that movie. Hook.
Yeah.
Nothing But Trouble. As forgettable as that film is, it was very well shot. He worked on a lot of the TV stuff, including Tales from the Crypt. He was the DP on Roadhouse, which is why that film looks so good. And another film that's a forgotten film that I really do love, Project X. Anybody remember that movie?
Oh yeah,
Matthew Broderick and the chimpanzees.
Shock the Monkey. Yeah.
Yeah, Peter Gabriel at the beginning, Shock the Monkey. That's right. Now this is really cool because this was not done by Rob Bottin. This was done by James Cameron, special effects guy.
Stan Winston.
Stan Winston. And everything that was used for the liquids in this could be found in your kitchen. In fact, what he said that is that milky substance, all that is the same stuff that's in Twinkie filling. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I love that the dogs wanted the hell away from this thing.
And one of my favorite lines in the film coming up, it's like, Mac wants the flamethrower. Mac wants the what?
Whatever it is weird and ticked off. I love the line.
Whatever it is weird, pissed off, that's for sure.
And there's foreshadowing of the axe.
Yeah, and one of the reasons McCree is one of my favorite characters ever is that he
Now look at
has
the lens flare here.
killer instincts.
Yes, he does. It's just do it. He's just got the just do it. And that's because he's a former Army Ranger. First Cav.
A Vietnam vet too, I think, right?
Yes, he's actually, he and Palmer both Vietnam vets. It's in fact, Palmer has his stuff on his jacket.
And Palmer was like the backup helicopter pilot, right?
Yep.
He could fly it, but he's not the main guy. Yeah.
And I love that McCready wears that cool hat, that cavalry looking hat that's folded up. I've always loved that. I have a hat that does that. I love wearing hats like that. Again, this is some of his work here. This is not Rob Bottin. Yeah, Charles takes forever to get in there with that flamethrower. So some of the thing gets away.
They actually just put out a toy from NECA Toys of the Thing dog creature, and it's pretty amazing. It's pretty awesome.
I've not been disappointed with any of them. In fact, they have this new, I don't know if it's new, but I just saw it for the first time, 12-inch tall McCready figure. And it's got two heads, one where he's like that, and the other one where he's kind of grimacing.
Yep.
And
I have all three of them. There's been 3 versions out so far of that.
Here's the scene where he's just relishing it, just having so much fun.
Well, he did mention it was kind of like gutting a deer.
Yeah. Or working with cattle.
Yeah.
Hey, Jamie, what's up, man? Happy Saturday, man. This one is always so wild because it looks like a giant VAJ. I'm not going to say the word.
Oh, and this is what turned off the critics when they saw these scenes. They were just like, "Oh, this is just gore porn and blah blah blah." You know,
that's just, it's such a cheap way to go with it because a lot of effort went into what they're doing here to be believable.
Well, most critics checked out at this point. They didn't care about the movie anymore.
And this movie could have been way more exploitive if it really wanted to. They use it when it's effective to do so.
Right.
And it furthers the plot because they're dissecting 2 bodies to learn what the hell is it they're even dealing with.
So what I believe happened with the Norris scene with the dog going into his room is it was friendly. There was too many people close by that it couldn't do a violent takeover. So I think it licked him, which explains why Norris is slowly infected. And it's in the script that he had an incipient heart condition, his character. And that when the thing tried to replicate it, it caused him to have a heart attack.
That's interesting. Yeah, never heard that one.
If you go back and look at the original notes for the script, that Norris had an incipient heart condition. So, because otherwise, the scene where he has a heart attack doesn't make any sense.
True.
It's because he was finally being taken over. And it took that long for him to be infected. Which is, the concern that they had, because at this point, everybody should prepare their own meals from cans.
Right. Yep.
And of course, this is a great nod to the original film, from the circle, circling the shape in the ice, to the using of phosphorus to burn the ice. There goes Mac with that cool ass hat.
Well, no, I always thought what the whole Norris thing was that it goes after the scientist because the scientist is the only one who can figure out how to figure it out.
Now, what's important here is that there are 3 of them in this helicopter, but we only know who 2 of them are. The third one is an unknown, and it's what is hinted at is that person is infected, which is why that's the person that finds the hole in the ice and never goes down. Yeah, Blair is taken over slowly, infected. And he's the hero for the aliens, for sure. That was a blue screen. And one of the amazing things about this scene is was it John Steers? Because he worked with Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, the matte painting. Yes.
Albert Whitlock just popped into my head.
That painting is so gorgeous.
This part of this ship is a painting.
Right.
And he even shows light go over it. And that was a trick he learned as a matte artist. And he did it in camera. It was a little trick with the painting. Now, Norris is great here, but again, who is that third person?
Doc.
Not acting like Doc. Not interacting. I thought it might be Knowles, but I don't think Knowles was infected. Like, who the hell is that?
They want
that is
us
such
to
a
not
nondescript.
be able to figure that out.
Yeah, it's weird. Now here's that scene. He goes, "I don't believe any of this voodoo bullshit. Do you believe this stuff, Blair?"
Wakes up, probably not in the best of moods.
Yeah.
Now this is when Palmer is still Palmer at this point. He hasn't been changed yet.
Right.
And basically, what this movie was John Carpenter always wanted to make an Agatha Christie. The 10 Little Indians, Then There Were None, however you want to name the book and film. It had 3 different titles. 2 of them were racist, and finally they agreed on And Then There Were None. And that's basically what this film is it's a retelling of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None.
And by the way, Palmer was not actually smoking real marijuana in those scenes. That was tobacco. I asked him personally.
Yeah.
He strikes me because he's former military too. And,
this animation,
straight-laced guy.
This was done afterwards because they realized they needed to have a scene that explained exactly what.
And of course, it's wrong. It's wrong in how it shows the assimilation.
Yeah.
Even I caught that when I saw it. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. That's not how it works. But they did what they could. If I were to go back, I'd fix this with CG and do it correctly. But Blair, I got to tell you, man, Wilford Brimley is so freaking good in this movie.
Yeah.
Do you wish to contact Liberty Medical for your diabetes?
Diabetes. I got the diabetes. Of course, that's not how computers work.
No.
But, it's 82. What do people know? And there's the pistol.
And Wilford Brimley, actually, he outlived the actors that played Doc, Gerry, and Norris. Those 3 actors died first, and then Wilford Brimley passed away after that.
And don't forget the writer of the film. He died young, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really sad. By the way, when you go back and watch this movie, there are angles of Kurt when I'm looking and going, holy crap, his son looks like him.
Yeah.
Now, this is the scene that was actually shot on location up in the Great North. And it was freezing when they shot this scene. And poor, what's his name, had to go shirtless in this scene. That makeup Rob Bottin's insane, dude.
Yep. And with the sound design, you can hear the keys dropping, which is basically how they get into the blood later.
Well, I have always assumed they didn't need the keys because it can make itself as thin as a single molecule and slide through places. I assume that's how it did it.
Well, it's constantly changing and adapting, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was able to do that.
Now, in the commentary, I love in the commentary, John Carpenter talks about this scene. He says he was talking to a fellow film director friend. I forget who it was. He says, "Yep, true sign of an amateur filmmaker." He goes, "What's that?" He says, "You dolly in and then you dolly out."
Well, he's like a blue-collar filmmaker. That's how I put John Carpenter.
Hey, I agree with you.
It's that time of the show.
Oh, is it already?
Yep.
Yeah. So here we go.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
And before we proceed, I want to mention everybody that's here. We got our friend Tim is here, FKHC 2005. Deleted Scenes is in the show. Slasher Fred, Penny, Andy Morrow, E. Clay Thomason, Real Weight Nation, Bud Badnazar, Badnazar? I don't know how to pronounce that. Lady V Elements, Admiral Teague, Red Shirt is here. Pete Dencat is here, and Midnight's Edge Tom is here. Six, Jamie G, Voltaic Blood, and of course Vinkman's Girl is here. So welcome. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday.
We need to give at least one video.
And Water Monkey is in the house.
And then I call him Bud Badenzer.
Badenzer?
Badenzer, yeah.
Okay.
And he hasn't corrected me yet, so.
Gary, 6 needs a video.
Excuse me?
6, we haven't given her a video for the super chats.
Yeah, get on Martin about that. Martin's in charge of that.
Martin?
But you were talking. I'm not gonna cut out. Couldn't.
I just want to make sure she gets it.
Okay.
She probably already left. No, it's 6. She's off on another stream now.
Oh, 6 for you. We have this one. We haven't used it in a long time.
Before we begin, would you like to touch my monkey?
Freaking
yes, I haven't seen that in ages.
Would you like to touch my monkey?
And this one.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
This is my week on.
I fucking love Arnold.
But yeah, so
Now
they were
you
going
love
after.
Yes.
Well, they were going after him. The keys were on the ground. Then was it Norris picked it up, sabotaged the blood because he's not there.
Norris wasn't taking over at this point.
Or I'm sorry, who's the one with the bad heart?
That's Norris.
Norris.
Okay.
Norris isn't taking over yet.
Right fucking here, Snoo.
Gerry was writing about amputees before it was cool.
Gary, you're supposed to write what you know, so how far are you willing to go?
Oh, don't use his own joke against him.
So at this point, the only one we know that is infected is at some point round here, Palmer is infected, and Bennings. They're the only two that are infected. I believe Bennings is the one who got to the blood. Before he could be completely changed, I believe he was the one that went in there. If it's not him, then it's Palmer.
I think Bennings makes more sense.
Yeah, I think he did what he did in a panic, and it makes sense that he would be the one that needs to stop it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen it this
What?
enough times.
There's a lot to keep track of with this movie.
E. Clay has a question in the chat. He says, has John Carpenter ever laid out who was and was not infected?
No, he has no interest in telling us. He's
Well,
not interested.
I think if you're paying close enough attention, I think you know who gets turned when.
Yeah, I think Palmer's first, and then Bennings, and during this time, Norris and Blair are slowly being transformed. In fact, by the time we get to this scene, I'm pretty sure he's more thing than human, which is what's causing maybe the schism in his behavior. Norris, I don't think he's even aware he's infected yet.
I think he's thinking about it though, because if you see how he reacts to the dog, I think he might not know he's the thing. I don't think he has that concept yet, but he knows something.
What do you mean reaction to the dog? What?
There's a scene where a bunch of them are sitting around a table, and this is when they tell Clark to put the dog
in the pen,
in the kennel. Watch how Norris reacts to the dog. He has this weird reaction to the dog.
Well, I don't think he was aware he was infected yet, because it would have been a passive infection.
Yeah.
I think he has his suspicions when Gerry tries to give him the gun and give him, command. And he goes,
I'm not up to it.
Yeah, I just don't feel like I'm up to it. I think that's when he's starting to realize something.
Yeah, I think he's probably out of sorts, and he doesn't know he probably doesn't even know why he feels that way.
Probably not. He just knows something's off.
Keep an eye on Clark.
See, this is a great scene here, Gerry, where Blair, when he's talking, if you listen really close, when he says that line, he says, keep an eye on Clark, or watch Clark, you hear me. And he actually says me and we at the same time. I've always wanted to think that, maybe he's just cold and he stuttered. But I think that was on purpose, that he's actually
it's very much so, because at this point, I know he's not human anymore.
Right. No. And he blends those two words perfectly. It's we, the way he says it. And it's just
now, ironically, everybody standing here, right here in this shot, they're all human.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
But they are beginning to get really paranoid.
Well, that's just it. And of course, this movie came out in '82 with the big growing fear of AIDS.
Yeah.
And this movie and Blade Runner kind of played on that theme very well, that paranoia.
That's what makes this such a great movie is it really is a whodunit. When you strip it down to its brass tactics, it's a whodunit type of movie.
Yep. And like I said, he wanted to make his Agatha Christie movie, and this is it.
Yep.
Oh, there's the blood gone. I like how they go back and forth because they come from a military background, so they know they need to be a team. But at points they get so paranoid that they turn on each other, and it just keeps going back and forth between team and complete paranoia and not trusting anyone, not even themselves.
Okay. I think I made a mistake here, Gerry. Okay, so at this point, Bennings is already dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he didn't get to the blood then. He's already dead.
Yeah.
So
don't forget, though, there's a loose thing going on, too. That's the thing that everybody forgets, is the thing that got out of the pen. The dog pen. It's been wandering around base this whole time, in whatever form it's in. And it is what I believe got into the blood. Now that I go back and think about it, the thing that escaped the dog pen that climbed out is what destroyed the blood.
That makes sense.
Okay.
And it didn't need any keys.
No. It would be able to just get into that cabinet.
Are you going to listen to Gerry? He might be one of those things. I love Windows.
Yep, if his equipment just worked better, he'd still be alive.
And in the comic book, and I think it's in the video game, it's alluded to that they could be heard, but nobody could get through back to them. And so, yeah, this is where Norris is like, no, I'm not your guy, you know.
Yep.
And then I love this child steps up and he goes, I think we need somebody a little more even-tempered, child.
Yeah, the actor that played Windows, his favorite scene in the movie was the blood test and just the intensity of it all, and he got a lot of close-ups in that scene. You'll notice because he was basically the first one that McCready felt like was actually human. So he tested him first and handed him a flamethrower first because of his reaction that happened in the hallway. McCready sensed that he was human still because he, reacted like a human would in that situation.
Now,
just paranoia and wanting to get a gun, and protect himself. Yeah, that all felt very humanist.
Very much. I want to point out Knowles here. Look at what he's wearing. This is exactly what the person was wearing at the helicopter scene at the crash site. And that's why I'm like, is it Knowles? Why is that? It was so weird that they have this third person there not interacting.
I thought it was Doc the whole time. Maybe it is Knowles.
Yeah, so did I.
Because Doc went with him the first time up.
Yeah, why take Knowles to the crash site?
He's your
It's
cook.
just weird. And if it was Doc doesn't dress that way. That's Doc's outfit. That's different than what was being worn at the crash site. It's weird. It's Knowles' outfit. So maybe he was going there as a witness. I don't know.
Could be a misdirect.
That was a film crew.
Yeah,
maybe
they only had
they
two
didn't
actors.
have any of the actors available for that scene and use the stand-in. To have a
Yeah,
third
it's
person
always
there, and it's not important who it is.
Read by Nature is here.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah, I said that when we watched it the first time last year. Maybe it's just a stand-in and it's not important who it is, but there are 3 people there. So
I just think it's cool that we're looking at a 40-year-old movie and still asking questions.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There are certain films that have that impact. Godfather, The
great
Thing.
movies.
Another one is The Shining. Now, this scene was intentionally done with the background lit the way it was to make it look like maybe there's somebody behind him. That's why he's in when you do a shot in thirds, a majority of this shot is what's going on the right-hand side of the screen or left side of the screen backwards.
Right.
Yep. And this is the other thing that makes McCready great. He's prepping for if he fails, even.
Oh, he's the leader. That's his job.
And he's already seeing, things going down quickly. They're in a death spiral at this point, and he's preparing for the worst.
The Norwegians did the same thing. It's what you do in such a situation. You leave as much information behind as you can.
Which is fun in the video game because you actually find some of these cassettes that he recorded for you and play them.
Yep.
Really? That's nice.
Yeah, I did it with Blade Runner 97. I should play the game again on the channel.
I like the framing of that last scene there because it kind of makes you think something's going to come up behind him.
Well, that's what I was just talking about. They shot it on purpose to look that way. And then immediately cut to this scene where he comes up behind Fuchs. And it scares Fuchs. So you begin to wonder. Carpenter was intentionally making you wonder: is Kurt Russell infected now?
Right. They actually, the direction of the movie wanted you to second guess Kurt Russell and him being the thing, especially when the underwear comes out, when Knowles finds the underwear or the clothing or whatever, the torn clothing. Yeah. That's when you really, really question it, and you're like, "Oh man, is he really? Is he? Is our hero the thing?"
They are questioning everything. So to drag you into the movie, you are allowed to do the same thing.
And I want to go back just for a second here. I want you to look at the way Kurt Russell is standing here too. There's something really odd the way he's standing there, and that was done intentionally to mislead you.
Right.
It's like he's so nondescript right now.
No, what I always thought,
Michael Myers, the shape.
Yeah.
What I always thought happened with Fuchs is that he basically was attacked, he managed to get away, but he realized he was infected, so he burnt himself.
Now, the one clever thing the thing does is it's constantly creating paranoia and misdirection. And so when he goes, something passes him. So you think, was that McCready? Who was that? So he goes out and he finds McCready's clothes. Now, clearly it's misdirection. They got to stop McCready because McCready is the greatest threat to the thing right now. And of course, that's Mac's clothes that's been torn through.
Yep. It's all a misdirect. It's all to kind of lead you the wrong direction on who's who, because it builds up the scene of him breaking back in, the rest of the crew thinking that he's the thing and they want to kill him. And of course he straps himself with dynamite to make sure that they, they're going to die with him if they go. It's a great buildup. And you don't expect what happens to Norris because of it. You're so concentrated on McCready's character and what's going to happen with him that Norris fades into the background, and then all of a sudden he's having a heart attack, and it's like, well, what the hell's going on here? So you don't see that coming. And
that is the moment that the thing completely took him over, because it didn't know what to do with that heart condition.
Right. And then of course when his chest opens up and everything, it's a jump scare, but it's done perfectly.
In fact, it is really one of my favorite moments in horror film history.
Yeah.
Because it kind of is real, because they got this homeless dude with no arms to stand in for a bit, so you cannot make it look more real.
They put the Doc Copper mask on him.
Yeah.
Where he's screaming.
And
it was done perfectly.
Arms made out of Jello.
I just love that there's the noose and him going, I'm fine. There's a noose. I was planning to kill myself, but I'm fine now.
Yeah. I'm not going to harm anybody.
I want to come back inside. Come on, man.
This the first time. This scene freaked me out because Gerry let me just run into it without any warning. Sometimes he hints, so I know I got stuff coming my way, especially when it's spiders. But with that scene where the arms get bitten off, nothing.
Nothing wrong with me. I've just got, a DIY project downstairs.
I'm much better now. You hear me? I'm much better now. Wilford Brimley should have got an Oscar for this role.
I want to go back inside.
He's so good as Blair. I hear things out here. I love this scene. And the noose tells you he's not right.
Yeah.
That was probably done while he was still human.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
What would have been creepy
when he realized he was being taken over, and he thought about doing it, and then it wouldn't let him.
Or even creepier, he did actually hang himself, and then it just took over the rest of him.
There's
that's possible. That's possible.
Yeah, I like that. It's dark.
So now they find Fuchs' remains, torched himself.
Now, how he did that with a flare, I don't know. That one always threw me off, because you need a lot of fire to burn yourself in.
Well, he probably doused himself with something.
Doused himself.
Yeah, gasoline.
Okay.
I mean, he was a chemist, so I'm sure he had chemicals. But the best part is when McCready mentions that he left his lights off.
Yeah. Which means he got sabotaged.
Yeah, it's all a setup. to make him look like he's the thing.
Because the
This
movie,
is another thing in the game I like is the lights, because you got to use the lights to get from location A to location B within the video game.
Yep.
You can
Yeah.
already tell he's having trouble. He's feeling uncomfortable right here.
That was the true buildup of this movie. Is the it's kind of built around the fact that the Thing needs to get rid of the McCready character because he is creating the most chaos. He's the one that he fears the most. The Thing fears the most at defeating him and discovering him, because he's seeing, that he's becoming the leader, and he's coming up with ideas and plays to counter and come back at him with. It's that whole
Exactly.
chess analogy that you're seeing. Yeah.
No.
I think we have a new viewer in the chat. I haven't seen that name before.
What name?
David
David
Micalizio.
Micalizio.
Oh, I think we saw that once before.
Really?
I haven't.
I haven't too.
You might be right. Greetings, David. Welcome to the show. This is where we sit down, a bunch of nerds talking about one of our favorite films. And this one, of course, he's having a heart attack now. Oh, wait, no. That's not
No,
right.
that's a little bit later.
Oh, yeah, that's after they run into Kurt. That's right. But it was when he was getting fitted with the flamethrower that he had the first chest pains. And you can see him wince.
Yep. That's a great scene.
Palmer
there
isn't
too.
Palmer anymore. Palmer is absolutely the Thing.
That's a great scene there, because you got both the Things looking at each other in human form. There's a nice little scene there.
Yeah, do they know? That's an interesting question.
Right.
I think there might even be something going on between those two. Yeah, I know what you are. You don't tell that you know what I am, and I will be silent about you. We're not going to out ourselves.
And again, Dean Cundy with the lens flare coming off these flares is so cool.
Oh, I always love
so
his look
perfectly.
at this point. Like just the snow on his beard and everything.
The mixture of colors too, because you've got a lot of contrasting colors. So you get blue and red in the same shot.
Plus, to me, this kind of signifies the title and the cover that you see that Drew Struzan drew. Is technically it's McCready's silhouette, even though it's not. In the lighting of the face right there, that this scene reminds me of your main title screen, the main movie poster that you always saw.
I sleep real light, childs.
I'm a light sleeper, child. Anybody tries to wake me.
Now, there's a lot of visual setups. Like he's thumping his chest right now, and he does the first, defib.
Yeah.
And sets up the next shot when it opens up on him. It's just crazy.
And you don't see it coming. It's great. It's such a great jump scare. This is back when Carpenter's the best at jump scares, like one of the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He is the king of jump scares.
Yeah, and this was his pinnacle, I think.
Because they aren't cheap. Like, it actually accomplishes something. The bad jump scares are when it's like, oh, it was just a cat. It didn't do anything for the plot.
And that whole setup caught fire, and they had to quickly rebuild it and shoot it again, I guess, because the first time.
But it also caused some problems because there was chemicals.
Yes.
That were the green and all the color mixes had chemicals in them, and it made people sick.
Yep.
But these effects are just fantastic. The fact that they could do this back then, amazing. We need to get back to that. Use more practical effects and less CGI.
And Rob Bottin was
trying.
23, I think, when he did this film. So he was still a kid making these things. Literally a kid.
A kid full of crazy ideas.
He broke loose from Rick Baker when he did The Howling.
Yep.
And this is why I stopped watching.
It's just a crab, honey. It's a spider.
It's a fucking spider. It has too many legs, too many spindly legs. I'm out when it comes to spiders.
Yeah, the only effect that's kind of iffy is when it's actually moving across. It's like the legs aren't moving enough.
Right.
Better than that, it's like, oh, Kino.
It's just Mr. Krabs. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Dear, we just watched it yesterday. It was my second time, and I tried, but there's just scenes where I have to look away. I am like that. Live with it.
Now, classic moment here, Agatha Christie moment, where they're in this room and only one of them is the thing.
Right.
And it's really got to be careful. But Clark gets what he deserves here. He shouldn't have done this.
No, he shouldn't have. Yeah, he made a bad play.
Brought a knife to a gunfight.
That's right. Who brings a knife to a gunfight?
Yeah, and then Child's like, that makes you murder. It's like, dude, he's coming in with a knife.
It's whatever, Child. You were going to murder somebody else. You're going to murder me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is weird because this is where Palmer starts to act a little like Palmer. Come on, Mac. He's dead.
I think that was still misdirection, though.
Oh, it absolutely is. Because, the looks on their faces, it is Palmer's face that gives it away right before Mac touches his blood with the hot coil. Watch Palmer's expression. He just sort of looks away and down and does that with his face.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, fuck, he's got me,
It's resolve, resolute. Well, it is what it is.
I've come so far.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they cut way too deep for these.
Yeah,
they didn't need to cut this deep.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's the one place in the movie with all of the mayhem. That's where I can't look. Is when they cut their thumbs.
It is so uncomfortable. Yeah, I know.
They don't need to cut as deep as they do to get that much blood.
Also,
it's the same as when you do this. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. The one that I love to do when it's the real one, it's a fake hand there, so they have the thing pop.
Yeah.
By the way, if you look at the poster, it's an anti-STD poster.
Yep. Nice.
I was just going to say,
Windows is like the most tragic character in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm getting annoyed when they do this ritual blood thing and they slash across the palm of the hand. That's like one of the hardest places for a cut to heal. Why would you cut there? It makes no sense.
Again, look at the lighting on him. It's already telling you something. Carpenter is so good at foreshadowing.
A lot of people talk about the light in the eyes in this scene as well. As all the people that are human, you can see a little bit of a twinkle of light in their eye, and then when they go to Palmer, his eyes are black.
Yep. And he's just dead. He's got a dead expression. There he looks like his kid right there.
Yeah. Definitely probably the most hyped point of the movie as far as anxiety. Got a great build up for this scene, by tying everybody up and going one by one by one, and they almost get to the end. It was Childs and Gerry, I think, that was left after Palmer. So they get through a few people before the thing finally shows himself, which is great. They didn't put it at the very end, and they didn't put him at the very beginning. They threw him kind of towards the end, and it was just a good placement.
And just so you know, the single best line delivered in this film is delivered by Gerry.
Yes.
Yep.
Hands down.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to spend winter tied to that fucking couch.
Which is funny because he's still on morphine. Him and Doc got doped up before this, if you remember right, and tied up and doped up before the Norris thing happened, and they had to go untie Doc in order to try and save him. So Gerry is technically still, high right here, technically.
Now, of course, this is where it happens. They set up this great scene where he's doing it on the tabletop, and then he starts holding the Petri dishes.
Yep.
And then finally, the one shot where it's not even his hand anymore, it's the fake hand. And
they used the fake hand in the previous shot as well.
They did it one shot before to establish it.
Yep.
So it wasn't a shock.
So you wouldn't notice it. Yep.
And
but if you look really close, you can tell it's a fake hand.
The blood's moving around, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And his flamethrower won't work.
I believe they used mercury, if I remember right, to make the blood move. If I remember right, the blood moving scene. I think they used mercury. I think.
Doesn't
I don't
mercury
know.
turn into tiny little globes like balls? Like perfectly round?
Oh, poor
Maybe
Windows.
maybe I'm thinking of Terminator.
This is Windows End. You are thinking Terminator. They had a moving floor, is what they did for this.
That's what it was.
But
Okay.
poor Windows is just, God, your heart goes out to this guy as a character because he's just so sad and pathetic. And so his death scene.
He loves the scene, though. Yeah, that's the question I asked him when I met him, get my poster signed, was what was his favorite scene in the movie, and this was it. It was this whole blood scene. He loved it. He felt like he really got to work out his actor chops, so to speak, in that scene.
And of course, they had a giant Muppet
that
was attached to his head, the actor's head, and he's slipping around, and the legs were kicking. It was all a dummy.
Yeah.
I just love how he lights the dynamite, just throws it, and then boom.
But immediately, he's done. Because the minute he lands, the minute Windows lands, he's not making human noises anymore. He's like,
he's already getting taken over at that point.
And they're still tied to that sofa. Yeah. They're screaming. Now here, this is another nod to the original 1951 film with the guy on fire running out into the snow, because that was in the original film too. Now I'll point out right here, when he throws the stick of dynamite out, the explosion was bigger than Kurt was prepared for. He reacted to it, and he got burned, mildly burned by the flame from that. It singed some of the hair on his face. He goes back in there, and they're like, "Windows is infected, kill him."
Yeah, none of them could do shit because there wasn't time.
And this is a puppet. This is a puppet. They did a really good job with this, setting it on fire, and it's kicking.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell it's a puppet, but I'm completely fine with it. It's just so well done.
The original thing is also referenced in Halloween. It's the movie they're watching on TV.
The original movie, yeah. It's fun to compare Halloween to this movie because, I mean, he did the fog in between it, but there's a lot of similarities in direction between Halloween and this movie. And if you know both movies really well, you can just see Carpenter's vision and how he likes to film stuff. A lot of synchronized sequences, so to speak, that you notice with certain characters.
Now, of course, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but I'd rather not spend the this fucking couch.
I mean, he starts talking really slow, so I guess you can tell
he's very like, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot.
He's drugged, but he's also very annoyed, and that just kicks through as he comes to the end of this statement.
Oh, Six is letting you know that she's still listening.
Good, Six. Double sure you're still subbed to my channel, by the way, because you stopped showing up again. So double check.
Six knows I need other females around here. This is a fucking sausage fest. I'm okay being the only one on the panel, but I need my ladies in chat. All of them.
This is another shot I really like.
Subscriber.
Look at the lens flares on this. Dean Fundy is a really good DP.
Yeah.
There's no obtrusive lens flares. That's the important thing. That's what when you know you have a DP that knows what he's doing.
Yep. There's one shot that's coming up where it basically shows that Blair Thing was in the basement. He comes up, he loops around, he basically attacks Charles from behind.
Now, I will also point out that this is straight from the novella. This scene, it's exactly like this in the original text.
The blood test was in the original book too,
Mhm.
if I remember.
Yeah, but this scene, shot for shot, is really the way. If you read it, that's how I see it in my head.
Nice.
Because they find the loose floorboards, they go down and they find he's been building a UFO down there, a flying saucer, from all the stolen parts. Blair's never been locked in there. He could have left whenever he wanted to. Thank you, Six. I love the choice of the flares they use with the red. It's so distinct in its look.
Now, Six, you've been subbed to my channel a couple times. You keep getting unsubbed because YouTube hates you for some reason.
I've heard that it does that to people, yeah.
It does. I'm a moderator for Jay, Drunk 3PO, who I'm actually moderating as we're doing the show. I'm throwing links in his chat for him. Not listening to him, but...
Yeah, this whole part, because it goes over, you can see that the basement's on the left.
Yep.
But yeah, I've been unsubbed from Jay several times, and I've been his mod for 5 years. So
you need to introduce me to him so I can finally talk to him. I've never talked to him ever.
I'm shocked you guys haven't had a moment.
Yeah, we're both kind of jerks.
Well, yeah, he is. That's
it's
Jay.
It's not from you, Gerry.
Oh God, she's shitting on you the way she shits on me now. She goes, "You mod for Jay, huh? I've never heard you mention that before, Snow."
I'm quite proud of that, Six. I've been his mod since the beginning. So there.
Why does it sound like you're saying sex instead of six?
That's usually what I think of when I think of Six.
Roger that.
She asks Jolly to send her nudes all the time, so I hook her up.
There he looks like his kid, or his kid looks like him.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Real smart SOB, built it by himself, piece by piece.
Now, what exactly was supposed to fuel that thing? I'm literally wondering. Like, did he think they had nuclear material on there or something for a reactor?
You're not supposed to think that far into it.
No, you're not.
He probably started building it and realized it wasn't going to work, that the stuff they had was just too primitive. It wasn't going to work. He probably stopped mid construction, because it was obviously incomplete. It wasn't finished.
Blair thing with Doc Brown, he just thought, oh yeah, by now the humans, you buy nuclear material.
Well, I do want to point out one of the important points in the film is that they thought that he was the thing was taking parts out of the machines to keep them from leaving. They never once considered that he was foraging the parts to build something. And that was interesting.
Also, coming up, it shows that it doesn't really need to rip through your clothes. Now, was it doing that originally and then overheard Mac and to say, I need to fix that?
Probably.
I love this, just destroying the place, just bringing it down.
One of the horror aspects of this is that they actually don't find out that much because it just keeps changing and adapting and always a different form. And it's so scary that they don't know their enemy, basically.
Yep. And everybody wants to know what the original thing looks like. And I'm like, they tell you that this is a cellular creature that works in commune with other cells. It doesn't have a specific look other than a cellular look. It's it.
It's natural just a cellular thing that basically eats everything around it and then copies it. Yeah, it's fucking terrifying.
It will work in commune with other members of its species unless its life is in danger, and then it will do what it does, where it splits and goes, "Look, you guys, I'm on my own."
I like that.
In Blair's books, he mentions that it could have gone to 1,000 different worlds and imitate 1,000 different organisms before it even got to Earth. So that's why you see all these weird shapes come out of it all the time.
There's no way of finding that out. Because there's no communication.
Right. It's not like you can tie the thing down and torture it and ask it questions.
Now, he's just telling them right now, we're dead. We have to bring this place completely down and destroy it.
Yep.
We're not getting out of this.
They cannot get out of this because they would risk spreading it. Which is just terrible. Oh, you should be on the panel more often than Six.
Well, Six knows she's got a special place in my heart. So
Yeah, but come back to your kindergarten from time to time and visit us.
It's too early in the day for her. She's a night owl.
That's what happens when someone breaks off a knife in there and leaves it behind.
That, by the way, is one of the cool shots. Go back to that, Martin, where he grabs Gary's face, because the actual hand that grabs Gary's face is not Wilford Brimley's. That's Rob Bottin's hand.
Oh,
for the close-up?
Yeah, for the close-up when his hand goes up into... Because there are little sleeves there that he slides into for the effect.
Right.
And Bottin knew how to do it, and he couldn't get Wilford Brimley to do it correctly. So he's like, I'll just do it. Nobody will know it's my hand. And then he tells everybody. So now we all know it's his hand. I do love this when he goes, it's gone. He goes, can it be fixed?
It's gone. McGreedy.
No, it's gone, McGreedy. It's part of a spaceship now.
You know, the one you just blew up?
Well, he's been awake for like 3 or 4 days now, so.
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Now, this scene does have a moment that gets repeated years later by Peter Weller in Leviathan. And I didn't like it. I wish that they hadn't done that. You know, stole from this film so blatantly. Where he flips away from him, rolls up, grabs the stick of dynamite, and throws it back at the thing. He goes, yeah, well, fuck you too. And then they do the same thing with Leviathan.
Unfortunately for the Knowles character, they ran out of budget, but there is storyboards that shows what happens to him. But since they didn't have enough money to make more practical effects, they tapped out.
We haven't even talked about Plug's artwork for this.
Yeah.
Plug did the storyboards for this movie. That was the shot right there where the hands slip into the skin, and it's actually a sleeve that is over his face that he slides into. And that's Rob Bottin's hand. You can tell it's not an old hand, it's a young person's hand. Very thin wrist.
What I always imagined there was tentacles are probably coming out of the hand and going into his mouth. Into the body. But he doesn't try to assimilate
them. Creepy way to kill someone.
He doesn't have time to assimilate there. Instead, he what I think he does is he joins up with the loose part of the thing from the dog kennel, and that's why he becomes so huge in this final showdown. I think all the things kind of got together.
Well, it's the collective thing. What's left?
Yeah, what's left?
I think, despite the fact that I love the artwork and I would love to have seen what the finished product would have looked like, I think it's creepier that you don't see what happens to Knowles. That he's just there 1 minute and gone.
Well, I kind of like that because sometimes it's the stuff that happens off camera that's scarier.
It works. It works. Yeah.
Not knowing is scary.
In fact, I didn't care until I found out that there was a scene scripted and storyboarded that shows him die. And then I was like, oh man, now I want to see it. Just like there's a whole ton of footage of the stop motion monster of the Blair monster that John Carpenter did not use because he did not like it. He only used very, very little bit of it. But there's a bunch.
Yeah, there's only the one shot of the animation.
Yeah.
Where the tentacles come out and grab things, and that's it. Then it cuts immediately to the large scale Rob Bottin sculpt. I would never show Anima a tentacle movie, Tim, ever.
I can only guess what that is.
Don't worry about it.
I won't.
And
worry.
Definitely do not Google it.
Oh, I won't. I know Tim is just trying to push my buttons. I'm ignoring him.
It's like that mistake I made when I looked up Muppet porn.
Oh my god!
Oh, did you now?
Gerry.
Somebody said something because I was looking for something, for a potential image for something to make a meme about, and then I looked it up and I went, "Oh my god, I wish I'd never done that."
Yeah, well, Gary, did Miss Piggy end up being disappointment because Kurt became Jewish and thus could never eat pork?
Bacon sandwich.
I love the
love
effects
this
in
explosion.
God. Yeah, this is great. And people go, well, clearly, Childs is the thing because there's no mist coming out of his mouth. First of all, there is mist coming out of his mouth when he walks up. And the angle that he is shot at and lit from doesn't show the mist anymore. But here's the flaw in the slaw with your theory. These things are warm. The thing is warm.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not
They
cold.
imitate the creature.
They imitate
They're
life.
over,
So yes, if he was an imitation, he'd still be blowing out mist. It's a dumb theory. I love good theories. I hate bad theories.
Right.
No, I think the whole test thing is because they had mentioned before, everyone shoots their own camp food. He just takes the bottle from McCready without going, and he just drinks.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of theories for this.
Yeah, that's
my feeling is that neither of them are at this point.
John was
But-
actually approached at this last con that I was at, and when I got to meet him and stuff, and he was approached on this exact same question, which he has been 1,000 times, and he will not tell you. He knows who is, who isn't at the end. He just won't tell you. He
They probably
refused
had
to.
to sign
And it's good that way.
something not to let anyone know.
He might let us know on his deathbed. Put it that way.
It's better that way. Well, he might end up doing something with.
Well, he's brought up doing a sequel.
He is. Yeah. Well, he's involved. We don't know of how much yet, but he is involved. It's through Blumhouse, and they are working on it. We don't know if it's a remake or a sequel, but the way he was leaning on it, it kind of made me feel like it's a sequel. Now, whether or not Carpenter's back or not, or Kurt Russell and Keith David are back in the sequel, that's to be seen.
Now they need to find other actors. They need to cast and take it right from the end of the movie and grab his son, because his son looks enough like it.
Yeah,
he pulls it off.
That could work.
And he proved it in the new series, Monarch.
Well, Gary, I always thought that they could make something work with the aging process, as far as like they had really bad, damage from frostbite.
The de-aging thing.
Yeah, well, they could do a frostbite thing where they had bad skin damage from it, and that they could work that in somehow, like they got found right before they died, type of thing.
Look how good it was when he did Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah,
I mean, that was still pretty damn good.
Yep.
So they could do that easily, but I'd be happy with his son playing it.
Still, great end lines. Like, why don't we just, sit here?
Sit here and wait a while. See what
happens. Yeah.
And that's it, guys. This is one of the greatest films ever made. It is absolutely top of the line horror, sci-fi horror in particular. It's my favorite genre of horror, sci-fi genre, sci-fi horror. Alien, this movie. Gosh, there's so many. Say what you want to about it as being more of a comedy. I love Critters.
Yeah.
It's sci-fi horror. I like sci-fi horror.
And I highly recommend picking up the 4K, because I have seen the thing probably near 100 times by now. And I noticed things that I never noticed before. And it did something that has never happened to me watching this movie. I actually got scared.
Yeah, same thing happened to me when I went.
It works.
I went to go see it in the theater for its 40th anniversary. Same thing. I noticed stuff I had never noticed before, and I've seen this 100 times. So if you ever get the chance to see it on big screen.
Yeah, did you see that, Snow? That somebody starts those little threads. It says, "What movie have you seen 7 times?" I said, "You're talking to nerds.
Right.
You've seen movies 50 to 100 times.
Exactly.
7 times? Like, I didn't like it if I only saw it 7 times."
Yeah. It was an average movie if I've only seen it 7. Yeah.
By the way, I know
since 77, I've seen Star Wars over 100 times. Over 100.
Easily. Easily, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know exactly when John Carpenter will tell us, and to paraphrase what he likes to say, one day John Carpenter will hold out his hand and a check will appear there, and then he will answer the question.
Yeah.
Can you share my screen, Gerry?
Oh yeah, Martin, can you do it? I'm on another screen right now.
What?
Share my
Share
screen.
the screen,
if you would, please.
Oh, yes. Here.
Is it up?
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. So that's me. Obviously with the thing shirt there.
Are you the black guy?
No, I'm not.
Jesus, Gerry.
I could see how you would get that confused, being a hip hop artist and all.
Hey, if you're as big a fan, Outpost 31 website and fan page on. I've been a member since they started, dude.
Yeah.
In fact, back in the day, because I founded the Blade Runner fan club. Okay.
Yep.
I was going to leave doing Blade Zone, and I was going to go start a Thing fan site. And I found out they had already done it, and I'm like, I don't need to do it. It exists, and they're still going strong too. It's Outpost 31 is a great fan site for nerds that want to talk to Thing.
Yeah, well, I think the Thing has grown a whole new audience through the next generation now. And in this picture, to the left of me is, or to the left, looking at the picture, it's Fuchs. Then you got Clark right behind me to my right, your left.
He is so
obviously
thin
Keith
now.
David is the black guy. Obviously, Bennings is right next to me. He's kind of leaning over a little bit, so you can see
That's
Palmer.
Palmer in the back.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Windows is to the far right.
But looking at
was
Richard
implied.
Masur, man. Now, I was going to point something out. I forgot to tell everybody. When he made this movie, he was the current sitting president of the Academy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In Hollywood.
Wow.
And wow.
Wow.
I was going to get to some trivia.
The
Let's
best
see.
part of meeting these guys out of everything was Fuchs, the guy that's got his hand on my shoulder, just in the black, just to the left there. He brought a book of all his pictures that he had taken on set of them hanging out, having dinner together, just different, shots along the way. It was a whole photo book that I got to look through personally because I went and seen him the first night he was there on that Friday night, and he ended up putting it away because he didn't want the crowds got too big. So I got to see him early, but he let me grab it and thumb through all the pictures, and I was seeing pictures of the cast sitting together having dinner together, and it was just an awesome moment.
Oh, that is incredible, dude. I'm glad you shared that, man.
And Fuchs says, the actor who played Fuchs, he said he's going to write a book and include all those pictures in it eventually for us. So keep your eyes peeled. I can't remember the actor's name. I'm bad with that. I'm terrible with names. So, but look him up.
I know some of them.
See if he wrote the book. Yeah.
So here we go. I want to give you a little bit of trivia because I mentioned at the beginning that the Norwegian is yelling something, and here's what he's yelling, quote unquote, get the hell out of there. That's not a dog. It's some sort of thing. It's imitating a dog. It isn't real. Get away, you idiots, is what the Norwegian yells at the Americans.
Right.
It's a really cool scene.
I've actually asked Andre about that.
The original opening was written differently. The opening sequence could have been very different as the script was changed quite significantly when they began shooting. At first, the idea was that the helicopter pilot would lose control of the chopper. The helicopter would spin uncontrollably and disappear behind a mountain, and we'd hear an explosion. How typical Hollywood. Then the lone survivor of the crash would appear from behind the mountain on fire and chase the dog into the American camp. Carpenter scrapped the whole idea because it was, in his words, cliche after cliche.
Yeah.
Yep.
The blue orb in front of my crotch area there, that represents a different thing, and it's quite large.
Carpenter kept the mystery as long as he could.
Nobody got
Throughout the film, there are times when we know who the thing is and when the assimilation took place, and other times we don't. Because we still don't know when Palmer was taken over. We have no clue. This mystery was created intentionally by Carpenter and is something he set upon early. So that's neat.
Yeah, because it's basically you're not given all the information because it's putting you in the position of the human characters. They don't know everything that's going on.
Right. Let's see. 1982 Thing trivia from IMDb. Carpenter stated that all of his films, this is his personal favorite. It has become a tradition in British and Arctic research stations to watch The Thing as part of their midwinter feast and celebration held over on June 21st. And that's in a recent TV miniseries. They showed the team watching the movie The Thing.
Hey, boss, we have a super chat.
Oh, really?
Six. Yeah.
Okay.
With a question.
I can answer that. It says, does the panel consider this to be a monster movie or an alien movie? 6, it is both and everything and anything. It is the perfect movie, is the correct answer.
Yes, it's the perfect mixture of science fiction, alien horror, monster,
thriller,
and
whodunit.
It's got everything in it. It's Mulligan stew.
It's
right.
proper pulp. It's what this would be like a Weird Tales story, which I believe it actually originally was.
And for 6.
I hope that answered the question. What?
No, I was going.
You're not reading the questions, and I'm not on the screen. So what's going on?
The question is: does the panel consider this to be a monster movie or alien movie?
Oh, we answered that one.
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah,
it's everything.
And since it's a monster movie, I have this video for you.
Answer the goddamn question. When are you coming?
Hopefully within the next 48 hours.
48 hours?
I realize you must have gone through hell.
Gone? Bitch, we still here.
I love that line. Did I tell you when I met Ernie Hudson the first time?
No.
We were on an elevator at the convention, and it was the year I got picked to do the drawing of Egon for Ghostbusters as a memorial. It was right after he died. And so we're in the elevator with him and his wife, and Zoe's there, and Zoe's freaking out. She's freaking out because she has a big crush on Ernie Hudson. And I just looked down at her, and she's looking up at me, and I went, "You know I'm going to do this now, right?"
I hate you already.
I said, "Hey, Ernie, I want you to meet my daughter, Zoe. Zoe is a big fan of yours. Also, my apologies to your wife. She plans when she's old enough to marry you. So, good luck." Oh man, Zoe will tell you that at the time she was mortified, but now she looks back on it, she goes, "I have so many memories because of the stuff my dad would do." But this film is considered a benchmark in special effects makeups and effects that were created by Rob Bottin, who was only 22 years old when he started the project. Kurt Russell took a drag on a cigarette at the beginning of certain shots in order to have the breath appear more visible. To give the illusion of icy Antarctic conditions, interior sets in Los Angeles soundstage were refrigerated down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And I remember there was a problem with that too, that it did damage to certain material on the set, while it was well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside. We need to look into humidity too. I think there was a problem that it ended up doing damage to some material, the mixture of the humidity and the hot and cold.
Yep.
So anyway, according to John Carpenter, he takes all of his failed movies pretty hard, but the film's initiative negative reception disappointed him the most. Not only was it a box office bomb, but critics panned its gory effects, tone, and characters. Vincent Canby called it too phony looking to be disgusting. Oh, fuck that guy. What's he done? Nobody even knows who that is. It qualifies
the Siskel and Ebert review, man, is like,
yeah, and it brings it up here. Likewise, Roger was disappointed by the superficial characterizations and implausible behavior, and dismissed the film as nothing more than an alien knockoff. Carpenter was particularly upset when Christian Nyby, the director of the original Thing from Another World, he didn't direct the whole film, publicly denounced Carpenter's version, saying, "If you want blood, go to the slaughterhouse." All in all, it's a terrific commercial for J&B Scott. In response to the commercial bombing of the film, the studio canceled the multi-picture deal they had with Carpenter, who noted that his career would have been different if the film had been successful. Not surprisingly, he was extremely relieved when the film enjoyed a rich cult success following its home video release along with the critical reevaluation that it received afterward. Let's see. It took about a year for Kurt Russell to grow the famous MacReady beard and long hair. I remember when he grew the big mustache for Stargate. Or no, Tombstone. I'm sorry, Tombstone.
Yeah,
and Goldie Hawn hated it. He was on Carson, and he talked about it. The opening title attempts to replicate the appearance of the original Howard Hawks film. To create the effect of the title, the animation cell with the thing written on it was placed behind a smoke-filled fish tank, which was covered with a plastic garbage bag. The bag was ignited, creating, because he had a little blowtorch that affected the title. And you can actually see the stretching plastic as it's melting, because it's played super fast. One day after shooting a scene with the flamethrower, Kurt Russell pulled a practical joke on John Carpenter by covering his face and head with bandages and claiming he got burned. The film's budget, $15 million, was substantially larger than the average horror film at the time. Friday the 13th, 1980 was $700,000. John Carpenter's original Halloween was only $375,000. John Carpenter was sold on making the film by the blood test. He was also adamant to create a monster movie where the creature wasn't obviously played by a man in a suit. Yes, like was so in Alien. At about 14 minutes in, John Carpenter comments that one of the Bush pilots used on the film offered to crash one of the helicopters for money. When MacReady and Dr. Copper go to visit the Norwegian camp via helicopter, the Bush pilot actually turned the controls over to Kurt Russell. Yes, I know about this one. Kurt Russell flew it for a second, and it's on camera because suddenly the helicopter begins to drift in the wrong direction. That's Kurt Russell. And it's in the commentary. Watch the film with the commentary. He says it right when it happens. He goes, yeah, see right there, it's drifting. That's me. In August of 2003, a couple of hardcore fans, Todd Cameron and Steve Crawford, ventured to the remote filming location in Stewart, British Columbia, and after 21 years, found remains of Outpost 31 and the Norwegian helicopter. The rotor blade from the helicopter now belongs to Todd and rests in his collection of memorabilia from the film. And I actually went to that website and looked at their trek to finding this place. It was great.
Yeah, it'd be
This
a cool
is the
thing.
first. What's that?
Since they actually were able to find the site again, that'd be a great. And everything's there. You could, if they ever do a sequel, they could actually show it. It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. This is the first of Carpenter's feature films which he did not score himself. That's not true. The film's original choice of composer was Jerry Goldsmith, but he passed, and Ennio Morricone composed a very low-key Carpenter-like score filled with brooding, menacing bass chords. Morricone's score would be dubiously nominated for a Razzie Award for the worst score. But that's not totally true, because the only score used by Ennio Morricone is the actual score at the beginning and end. The rest of it is Carpenter. And the reason why is because Carpenter kept making so many editorial changes, Morricone couldn't keep up with changing the music, and he got mad about it. They got into a fight. And so Carpenter just backed off and just did it himself. So that's not true. That is a false statement, and I should go fix that. While discussing the character MacReady, John Carpenter and Kurt Russell discussed having MacReady be a former Vietnam War helicopter pilot who was involved in some sort of tragedy and since felt sort of disgraced by his service. Because of this, MacReady suffers from PTSD, alcoholism, and severe insomnia. This backstory ultimately did not make it into the finished film, though it explains why MacReady was awake to hear the dogs whining and why he isn't fazed by the grotesque violence. Because he's not. I love that about his character, that he's just matter of fact about everything. It also adds to a deeper context to the line, "I'm a real light sleeper, childs." The Norwegian dog in the film was named Jed. He was a half wolf, half Malamute. Jed was an excellent animal actor, never looking at the camera, the dolly, or the crew members. Jed, however, was not the dog seen in the beginning chase scene where the Norwegian is trying to shoot him. Per Carpenter's commentary, this was another dog painted to look like Jed, and that thing was skittish as hell. The producers attribute the film's disappointing box office performance. We talk about this all the time. to audiences' desire to see more benign, uplifting interpretation of aliens' presence on Earth was Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which was released several weeks prior, to which I think is a garbage film. I will always hate that movie. And not because of Blade Runner and The Thing. I thought it was insipid.
It's stupid.
I didn't like it. I mean, oh, another Jesus allegory. Well done, Stephen. So, opened the same day as Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, the similarities don't end there. Both movies met with unfavorable reactions, suffered to Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial, the biggest hit of that year. From the early 90s onward, The Thing and Blade Runner have been considered two of the greatest films ever made. And once again, number one and number two on my favorite films of all time list. Blade Runner and The Thing. Let's see. Sound editor Colin Mowat achieved the dogs' cries in the film by rounding up all the neighborhood dogs, placing them in this house, and furtively stalking around in a dark trench with a collar up, tapping on the windows and rattling the doors to scare the dogs.
Nice.
I hope he got arrested. What a horrible thing to do. The female voice, oh, yeah, here they bring it up. The female voice of MacReady's computer was performed uncreditedly by John Carpenter's wife, Adrienne Barbeau. Based on the classic short story Who Goes There by pioneering science fiction editor John W. Campbell, who also has an award named after him for science fiction. In 1982, before its release, Fangoria magazine had a contest. People were asked to draw The Thing to see if anyone could guess what it was going to look like. The winner won a trip to Universal Studios. I didn't know that. That's neat. This is considered the first of the Apocalypse trilogy. The other films being Prince of Darkness and The Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter.
Yep.
And all three of them favorites of mine. John Carpenter was incredibly impressed with the work done by the dog who is taken over by the Thing. The real dog's name, Jed, and the shot of him walking down the hallway and searching for the human was done in less than 5 takes. Very impressive. Season 1, Episode 8 of The X-Files is a direct homage to this film. Everybody remembers that one. It's called Ice. The film was originally banned when released in Finland. What about Norway?
Is that X-Files episode the one that scared the shit out of me?
I don't know. It's called Ice. You tell me.
I don't know the name, but it was a creature that could move everywhere.
Yeah, poster artist and my mentor, my personal mentor and friend, Drew Struzan, created the poster for the film basically overnight and without having seen any publicity photos. And it captures the essence of the film perfectly. Richard Masser and Keith David decided through rehearsals that as the two largest men in the camp, their characters would be antagonistic to each other. I like that. It's true. They're both the same height. Part of the fear underlying the story was the rising fear of AIDS. Yep. And I don't know if that was planned. I think it just sort of happened. And they realized it while they were making the film, that it was directly tied into the fear that was going on over AIDS. The casting of MacReady proved to be difficult. Many A-list actors met with Universal and read for the role of MacReady, but nearly everyone turned it down. Nick Nolte was one of the top choices. Jeff Bridges, Tom Berenger, Christopher Walken, Scott Glenn, Roy Scheider, Chris Christopherson, Sam Shepard, Jack Thompson, Tom Atkins, and Don Johnson. Screenwriter Bill Lancaster wrote the script with Harrison Ford or Clint Eastwood in mind for the lead role of MacReady. Although some of the aforementioned names showed interest, namely Chris Christopherson, Shepard, and even Ford, nearly everyone turned it down due to the issue with scheduling, filming in the extreme cold, and or appearing in a B-movie style film. Producer Stuart Cohen recalls the one person who genuinely seemed enthusiastic about the role was then newbie, a favorite of mine, Fred Ward. But Universal passed on him because they wanted a bigger name. Kurt Russell was hired as the last resort effort on recommendation from Carpenter, as Universal was initially skeptical that he was too young and pretty to play a rugged and brawny MacReady. However, with principal filming to begin just a week away, the B-roll already shooting, the studio helplessly hired Kurt Russell. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The original vision of the film, the cook is listening to Stevie Wonder's Superstition. However, because Universal didn't secure the rights to the song, it had to be replaced for the home video release. And Universal has since negotiated license back on, because I've never heard it without Stevie Wonder's version. I've never. Did you?
Me either.
I've only heard Stevie Wonder's.
Nah. I mean, I watched it, 2001 was when I first watched this movie, so it was like the DVD.
Yeah. Oh, here's something interesting. In the final confrontation between McCready and the Thing, it required the assistance of over 50 technicians on set.
Just because
Like
of how
with the
big it
floor.
was?
Yeah, with the floorboard and all of it, and the thing coming up out of the floorboards. Oh, man, that scene's crazy. Windows was originally named Sanchez, but when Thomas G. Waits was cast, the character was renamed Sanders. However, when Waits showed up during rehearsals wearing sunglasses and said to John Carpenter, "I want everyone to call me Windows from now on," for a reason that none of the actors ever found out, Carpenter agreed and changed the character's name to Windows.
Nice.
Actor Franklin A.J. came to read for Knowles, but instead critiqued John Carpenter for 15 minutes on the stereotypical nature of Knowles as a black character. The meeting ended in a very frosty silence. Yeah. Were you trying to get the role? No, apparently not. And do you guys know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing that ever pops to mind with him is The Burbs, because he's in The Burbs, the Tom Hanks. I like that movie, by the way.
Yeah. He's in a. Go ahead.
No, he's a what?
I also remember him from a movie called American Yakuza with Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, I remember that movie. He's in that. Okay.
Yeah.
Executives believe refrigerating their own sound stages would be far too expensive, and so offered to fund shooting the sets inside massive cold storage lockers. But after the producers saw the cramped conditions and low ceilings, they abandoned the idea, because we saw what happened with Blade Runner. They had all kinds of problems from doing that. The only film that ever successfully did it was a meat locker that was used for the bedroom scene for the final battle in The Exorcist. And that was shot in a refrigeration unit, a large one.
Nice.
So, but when the film first aired in the U.S. network television, Universal executive Sid Sheinberg provided a completely different cut of the movie, which included early scenes introducing each character. Naturally, this version was disowned by John Carpenter, but can be seen in the 2016 Scream Factory Blu-ray release. So there you go. I think that's a lot of trivia. I think we're good.
Yeah, there's also one of the alternate endings was it just shows the dog running away in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody enjoyed the show. That was fun. I really love talking about The Thing. It's like absolutely, really, if it's not Blade Runner, it's The Thing. I love talking about either film and going in depth into it. And I will get into arguments with people over those films. They're the only two films that I will do that with.
It's a sign of quality when there's still room for debate, and it's an organic debate, unlike certain other sci-fi movies that are in your top one.
Well, this movie, it has held up over time as far as special effects.
Absolutely, the
and
gore
story.
effects, everything.
And
the only weak animation in the film is two shots, two quick shots, dude. You tell me what you think. One, the trail coming off the UFO at the beginning looks hand animated.
Right.
Okay. Two, the tentacles when they come up are clearly stop motion animated.
There's
those are the only two shots.
The one shot that gets me a little bit is when Palmer's got Windows, the puppet that's attached to the top, that's kicking the light and stuff. There's a shot in there that looks a little rough.
You're right. Because it's clearly not a person.
Right. It's just the weight of it, you can tell, is too light, with the way it's getting flung around. But besides that, I mean, it's perfect. Like, it's just a perfect movie. And the fact that we're talking about it 42 years later, and people are still talking about it, still wondering what happened at the end of it. I've been on multiple shows now where we've discussed this film more than I have for Star Wars, which is kind of a shock because that's the other franchise I know really well. But because of what has happened in Star Wars, I don't talk about it as much as I used to. But this movie, like I said, this whole new generation is discovering this film and realizing what a masterpiece it is.
It's the same thing with The Shining.
Yep.
That's a film I don't know if I'll ever get Anima to watch with me. I really want her to watch it with me because I said it's not horror. It is something else.
I don't think
psychological thriller.
It's a psychological thriller. It's not horror.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think so.
As I said, the only thing that really kind of takes me out of it is the head thing. It's obvious they're just pulling across the floor. It's lens aren't moving when it's skating across the floor.
Right.
Oh yeah, that is one shot. I always forget about that. Where the legs are just like
it's just
doing
it's
this.
Just not,
it's just rolling.
It's not right. It's obvious. It's just on a stringing pole. That's
somebody needs to go in and fix that with some CG.
But when Palmer says, you got to be effing kidding or whatever, it kind of helps that scene because you're like, oh, it's so over the top. Even Palmer thinks so. So you still feel like you're kind of in the zone with it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Palmer helps.
My problem isn't the UFO itself because I thought the way they shot the UFO looked good. The problem was the animation they added over it.
Right.
And that's something I wish they would fix. The animation on top of it doesn't look right.
So that was a real model they built. It's had real lights on it. And everything. Yeah.
Extro seemed to listen because originally Dark Skies was the movie that became A.T. And Extro kind of took that idea and did their own. It was an Italian-produced horror film. And it's not bad. It's actually a pretty good film. Story about a kid missing his dad, and the alien takes on the persona of his father. And it's a creepy movie.
I thought you'd say Mac and Me when it has the greatest scene in cinematic history when the kid in the wheelchair loses control and then just flies off the cliff into the
What I love about that is the actor that played Ant-Man. What's his
Paul
name?
Rudd. Yeah, he loves to.
He'll show up on Conan. He'll show up on Conan and go, "I've got a clip from the movie. You want to see it?" And he'll show the clip, and it's always that clip.
Yeah.
From Mac and Me. It's so freaking funny. Gag. I saw something. Wait a minute. What did I see? Great show. Thank you, Jamie. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. We're passionate about this stuff. We love doing this. Dissect the thing. Yep, I got your joke. Always fun to dissect the thing.
Blair already did it.
Yeah, it's always fun to dissect the thing. Read by nature. And of course, Tim, definitely it's on my list. I love the movie. I finally got, thanks to Andre, I finally got a copy of what is considered the ultimate cut of Dune. And I watched it and I very much enjoyed it. I liked what David Lynch tried to do. Who else would have tried to do what he did? De Laurentiis screwed with him. Now, here's a funny story I'll tell you before we end the show. I got invited by Ron and Judy Miller, who were artists on the movie Dune back in '84, to go have dinner with David Lynch, who had just moved to Virginia at the time. And I was like, I get to be there plus one, plus three. I don't know. I was their third wheel. So I get invited to this thing. And as we're pulling up and I start to open my door, Ron turns to me and says, "Oh, and we can't talk about Dune."
He knows you.
And I'm like, "But that's all I want to talk about." We're in the car and he says, he doesn't want to talk about it. The stuff that went on between him and De Laurentiis, it's just, don't bring it up. And I'm like, oh my God. And that scene would get repeated for me years later when Jim Woodward invited me over for dinner, the family, and his little sister, Annie. She was dating Dolph Lundgren at the time. Now, I'm going to tell you, she ended up marrying Robert Evans. She's his widow. Robert Evans, the guy, Keep the Kid in the Film, the guy who produced Love Story and Godfather, all that shit. She married him and died with his money. So he died, left her all the money. She doesn't talk to us anymore, but she was always a sweetheart growing up. But so I got invited to dinner, and I'm like, Dolph Lundgren's there. I get there and I'm told, do not bring up Masters of the Universe. And I'm like, but it's all I want to talk about. So I'm trying to watch my P's and Q's during dinner, and then he brings up going to one of the classes, I think the one in L.A., not the one in New York, for
Meisner?
method acting. It might have been Meisner doing method acting, and going to school for method acting, and it just came out, and I said, "Did you use that in Masters of the Universe when you played He-Man?" And I'm not sure if he laughed at what I said or when Jim Woodward kicked me under the table with his cowboy boots really hard. It hurt my shin, and I let out a cry. And then Dolph Lundgren was laughing. From my understanding, he's a kind of cruel dude, even though he's like super intelligent and all that. But we're not allowed to talk about him now at all around the Woodwards, because they're my second family. Never bring up Dolph Lundgren because that was ugly. But hey, any last thoughts, Snowdub?
Well, I'll just say thanks for having me on, Gary, and feel like we're slowly but surely becoming brothers, not only just best friends. And I'd like to thank the rest of the panel for hanging out and listening to two Thing Maniacs.
I know, hanging out with you that one night, man, it felt like that scene from Step Brothers. Are we best friends?
Yeah. Our morning show quickly became an hour and a half,
you and me just talking like
right, basically just picking each other's brain. Oh, I do that too. Oh, me too. Oh, you do that too. Oh, you like that too. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Anima, you may have to kill Snowdub before he steals away Gary.
Yeah,
he cannot be stolen from me. He cannot.
No, it's true.
I'm confident.
But Anima, any last thoughts on the Thing that you'd like to say?
I can't believe I watched it a second time and actually enjoyed most of it. I'm not a horror fan, not at all.
Yeah, I love it when
I'm beginning to get into it.
A gross scene comes up and I hear her.
Spiders, man, spiders.
Yeah.
He's laughing his ass off. I cannot even stop my reactions. There's nothing I can do.
It's got something for everybody. Whatever your fear is, the Thing finds it. That's what makes it such a great horror film.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now, in the immortal words of Brian,
that's it. Show's over.
We will get out of here. I hope everybody has a wonderful Saturday. Please have a safe weekend. And hey, if you haven't seen it yet, go watch The Thing. Make it your next thing you do. Your next thing.
You should. If I can do it, you can do it.
Thing.
2 thumbs
Just
up.
The word thing.
3 thumbs up if you're The Thing.
Yeah.
McCready is my
See
hero.
you on Monday, guys.
Go fuck yourselves.
All right, bye, guys. Buddy bird about the bird. Bird. Bird is the word. Which one of us is the Thing? I wonder.
What if no one's the Thing? And that's the thing.